Hey mama, are you sick and tired of your kids not listening to you? Like you tell them to do something and they don't do it, so you have to tell them again, and they still don't do it, and you have to tell them again, and your voice gets a little louder and a little louder, and you tell them multiple times, and you end up yelling, which is what you absolutely did not want to do because you don't want to be yelling, that type of mom who yells at her kids, right? Or are you the type of mom who does the count to three method, right? One, I'm gonna pick up your toys, all right? One, two, three, and then they hopefully run and do it, but not all the time, right? So, that's really, really tiring. It is really so tiring and draining on you, mama, if you're always having to tell your kids multiple times to do something. I mean, that just gets really old really quick, really old really quick. And, you don't have time or energy for that, right? Wouldn't it be great to have kids who listen the first time when you asked sweetly and pleasantly and quietly, and you didn't have to raise your voice, you didn't have to yell, you didn't have to count to three, right? It is possible, but you absolutely have to have this one thing if you want your kids to listen. And I'm telling you, this is probably my number one parenting tip. This is my number one parenting tip. I mean, I've had 7 kids and now I have 8 grandkids, and this, I think, trumps them all. But of course, this assumes that you are loving them, you're kind, you're sweet, you're giving them lots of love and affection. That is going to be a given because obviously that is first, right? But aside from that, this is my number one parenting tip. And if you can do this, everything else is so much easier. So much easier. And believe me, we want easy, right? We want easy, especially if you have multiple kids or you have a baby and a toddler, right? You don't want to be telling your kids 100 times to do stuff, right? So, what is it? What is my number one parenting tip that you absolutely must do to have kids that listen the first time without you having to raise your voice or yell or count to three? And that is consistency. You absolutely must be consistent with the follow through. Okay? Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't just give random commands willy-nilly that you have no intent to follow through with. You absolutely have to follow through every time. You have to enforce it. You have to have a consequence every single time, okay? So that there is no three, that they have to listen the first time. And if they don't listen the first time, and then they know what the consequence is going to be ahead of time, all right? It's not a surprise to them. Don't surprise your kids. They know the consequence. And I like consequences that are natural consequences that are related to the infraction, right? So if they didn't pick up their toys, well, then the toys get put away in a box till tomorrow, right? So it's directly related, right? If they won't stop whacking their brother over the head with a play sword, right? Well, then they lose privileges and access to that sword till tomorrow or whatever your predetermined time is, right? Now, is this easy? Absolutely not. Not to begin with. Not to begin with. Again, it'll make things so much easier later, but to begin with, it's hard because it's hard to be consistent because it can be tiring, right? To know that you have to follow through and enforce every single time can be tiring. Okay, so a key to that is to make sure when you give a request that you are able and willing to follow through. If you're not able and willing to follow through with that, then maybe it's best not to even give the request at all. Kids are pretty smart, right? They may have listened 9 times out of 10 in the past, but that one time they got away with it. There was that one time out of 10 they might have gotten away with something. So you know what? They think, hey, there's a chance. there's a chance, I still have a chance, right? It might be that one time out of 10 that I'll get away with this. See, that's why you cannot give them that one time out of 10. That's why you have to be consistent 10 times out of 10 times, because then your kid will always know, hey, I still have a chance. Don't give them that chance, right? Because then you have to start back to square one. And again, it's harder when you first start, but it gets easier later on. So your kids need to know, hey, when mom asks me to do something or tells me to stop doing something, I better do that right away the first time, because I know there are no second chances, right? It's a zero tolerance policy, zero tolerance policy. And it sounds maybe a little bit cruel, but it's actually one of the nicest and most loving things you can do for your kids. Kids like to know what the rules are. They feel safe and secure in a home, in a family where there are rules, and they know what the consequence will be, the reasonable consequence that's related, that's natural, right? They feel safe and secure knowing that. They really don't like to feel like they're the ones in charge of the family, right? So many kids are like they're the boss of the family. Oh my goodness, they're the boss. They will do things when they want to, or do things their parents don't want them to do uh, when they're something like that. I am a grandma after all, right? I'm a grandma. They got to give me a little grace. Okay, so again, you do not want to have little tyrants running your home. You don't want little tyrants running your home. That is no way to live. And it just makes you resentful. It makes mama's not happy, mama's resentful, mama's angry, mama's yelling, right? That's a miserable home to live in. Kids don't want to live in. That's not a great environment for kids to live in. Kids need to live in a home that's happy and loving and peaceful and calm and with structure and order, so that they feel safe and secure and loved, right? And they're not going to feel that if things are always changing, or they don't know what to expect or what they can actually get away with. A lot of times kids will try you. They'll see if they can get away with something, and they'll look at you, hey, you gonna let me get away with it this time? Have you ever had that, where a kid deliberately disobeys, right? Do not hit your sister with that block again. And they'll get ready, or they'll start to hit the sister with the block, and then they'll look over at you. Are you gonna do anything about this? I'm getting ready to hit my sister with the block, right? And then, right? So they want to get a reaction out of you. Don't do it. Don't give them a reaction, right? Stay peaceful, stay calm, but stay in charge, right? You are in charge. You are the boss, not your kids. And it's for the best. They will be so much happier. Kids will be happier, you'll be happier, your husband will be happier. It'll just be a more happy, wonderful, quiet, peaceful home, and you will thank me so much for this step. I'm telling you, you just have to commit. Just commit to doing this. Commit to being consistent for every single time. Every single time. First time. Ask them once, they must do it, or there's a consequence. Okay? Gently, calmly, with a smile, and with love. And your home will change from an angry, yelling, miserable, out of control home to a more peaceful one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.